Welcome into Snow the Goalies, the Press Row Show. Brought to you by La Sicilia. I didn't do the graphic here for on the screen right now. I should have done that. I ran out of time today. But they're on the thumbnail. So we're going to apologize to La Sicilia, but we love them. And don't forget, we have a live event coming up at La Sicilia in Oxford, PA, March 16th. It's going to be a heck of a time. Actually, that weekend, we're gonna kick it off. Like, we're essentially the opening act for the Flyers Carnival. Right? Saturday the 16th, we're going to be at La Sicilia. The two of us, Bundy, perhaps other people. Remains to be seen. Some fun door prizes. Lots of people who bought tickets. They're all going to be there. But then the next day is the Flyers Carnival. So if you're looking for a great way to celebrate a big weekend of Flyers hockey, you started with us at La Sicilia, down in Oxford. Tickets over at shop.snowthegoalie.com. Welcome into the Press Row Show. Anthony SanFilippo, how are you? I see that we color coordinated. We need to start texting.
Color coordinated.
We do need to start texting. That's twice now in the last week and a half.
Yeah.
And it's very concerning that we're matching again.
No, I know it is funny. And, Bundy, there is another coordination with Bundy.
Don't spoil that.
It has nothing to do with our shirts. No. But Bundy did coordinate with one of us today. And you'll see when he comes on in a little bit. He's actually going to come on pregame, which is why we don't have a guest right now. But he will be on pregame. It'll just be closer to start time. Are you
telling people that you and Bundy you have matching undies? That's
what it is.
You can't show that on the Press Row Show.
Yeah.
You show a lot of things on the Press Row Show, but not that.
I hear his is a thong.
Whoa, hey, that might be true, but let's watch that there, fella.
Yeah, no. Right. So there's something else to match. But yeah, here we are, back. Hey, my last game for a little bit.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah, head down to Clearwater tomorrow.
Yeah.
But I'll check in with you guys for sure. I will Monday night. I'll pop on for pregame.
When are you coming back?
The 13th.
You're gone that long. How many games are you missing up here?
2.
So I have to do this myself for 2 games until Bundy comes over for intermissions.
You go over and get another media person to come on.
I'm not groveling.
Whether it's Meltzer or Kurz or Jackie, one of them will come on. Or Adam.
Uh-huh.
Get them to come on and chat with you.
I do like those people. They're nice people.
They're all great. They're all great guests.
We'll see. Maybe I'll bring fans on. Maybe I'll bring listeners on.
Should do that too.
Who want to hang out pregame.
Oh, by the way.
What?
Well, I'll wait till Bundy comes on. We met at PHI Heritage, the guy who does all the old-time videos.
Yeah.
He was here tonight. He's a young kid.
It is a young kid.
I couldn't believe it. I was stunned. I told him, I said, I'm real proud of you.
It's not Chris Meyer?
His name's Chris.
Chris Meyer. Yeah, Meyer Media. He has the thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, he has the whole thing.
Yeah, but he's young.
Yeah.
I thought he was older.
I actually gave him a shout at that one day. I thought it was great.
Yeah,
I think the Philly Heritage account's really cool.
Yeah, but Bundy wanted to do a thing on it, so I'll let Bundy do it.
Okay.
But anyway, we got a hockey game tonight, Russ. We had one last night. We didn't do the morning after because we had back-to-backs.
Yes.
Right, so that's the reason we didn't do the morning after.
Si, senor.
Yesterday did not go quite as the way the Flyers would have wanted it to go.
You don't say.
And I think that intern Andrew is probably more upset than anyone else.
Look at him.
Yesterday. You should see. I wish people could see his face right now. Because,
he's upset.
Because
he's
I'm not sure. Who does he hate more?
Yeah.
The Washington Capitals or the University of Michigan?
I think he might hate John Tortorella more than any of them after what happened last night.
Look at
He's beside himself. I do wish that people could see. Oh, he's turning on his own mic. We have intern Andrew on pregame. That's how incensed the man is.
Yeah. It's just, I lived there for a long time. Believe me when I tell you, Delmarva sports fans are the worst people on the planet. They're the biggest front runners you've ever met in your life.
Yeah, they are. I mean, I live down there. I went to school in D.C., so I agree with you that they are front runners, but I don't know if I would make them worse than Boston fans. They're the worst people on the face of the planet.
I mean, the Boston teams are never bad. So, I was in 6th grade during that 2008 playoff series. That's the bane of my existence. That was my villain origin story, if you will. That's what made me hate them. Because I was legit getting harassed in school because of that series. And then, thank God for Joffrey Lupul. If I ever see him he will never pay for a single thing in this city because he did that for me.
You won't have to worry about him shaking your hand. You will shake his hand.
Yes.
That's right. Okay.
Thank you for your service, sir.
Yes, thank you.
But to answer your question, I hate the Capitals more than Michigan. I hate the University of Maryland more than I hate the University of Michigan.
Oh, that's another conversation for another day. We're going to have to find out why that is.
All right.
But anyway,
talk to you later.
Point being, yesterday was not good. And it was not good, Russ, because the Flyers started off really well, right?
Yeah.
They got out to a 2-0 lead, right? They looked like they're okay, they're the better team. And there's no question, even after losing to the Capitals yesterday 5-2, that they are the better team of the two teams. And it just seemed like they went into coast mode at that point. I just kind of shut it down. Like, 2-0. We all over this team. And Washington, to their credit, got desperate, realized that they needed to win the game or else pretty much their season was over.
Yep.
And they came back, stormed back, and the Flyers had no answer for them yesterday.
Yep.
And that's something you can't have. If you're the Flyers, you cannot have that happen to you if you are going to be a playoff team.
That's correct.
Right? You cannot have those meltdowns against the teams that are chasing, especially against the teams that are chasing you. That's a 4-point swing.
It is. It's huge. You know, it's what, six straight losses to Metropolitan Division teams.
Yeah.
You might argue that they're crapping the bed against the Met. They're all games that you have to pick. This, we're gonna have one of those nights, Ant. I can tell, and it's not a night that you and I go to war with each other. It might be, maybe just a little bit, but I think that there's a bigger thing at hand here, and I think what we're gonna start to see, and I could be wrong, is I think you're gonna start to see some people asking questions of the coach that they hadn't until recently, and follow me on this.
Go ahead.
I go back to last weekend. It was last weekend as the Rangers and the Penguins games, right? Because, I asked that because I didn't forget, but I didn't totally remember. And it's kind of like last weekend, the coach kind of didn't remember which team they were really chasing or which team they were trying to knock out of the playoff contention. And I said this last week, but, I don't think Sam Ersson gives up 7 goals in Pittsburgh. Now, whether you wanted them to swap goalies or whether you wanted Sam Ersson to play both halves of a back-to-back, however you wanted to get there, that Pittsburgh game was huge. And I think that the loss to the Rangers, the way that you lost it, that it was close, that you kept it competitive, but then you went out and you had a total stinker the next night, because yes, you did pot 6 goals, but you were unable to collectively as a team prevent Pittsburgh, a bad Pittsburgh team, from putting up 7. You've now found yourself in this position where, like, all right, whatever Washington is, Washington's not as good as any of us, I think, thought they would be going into the season, but they're still a team that you have to get up for. This team is now, like, on the brink. They're not on the brink.
I know.
On the brink.
Hey, he didn't play in the third period yesterday.
Yeah, it's weird, We'll get to that, too, in a second. But I think they're in a weird spot because they've been selling this idea of rebuild. We saw, obviously, Flyers Twitter lit itself on fire earlier this week when Jonesy went on WIP and tongue-in-cheek said that we've been telling the fans rebuild, but we went in the locker room and told those guys it's all BS, right? And then you had people take it literally and get very upset. You had some people go after the Charlie O'Connors and the Kevin Kurtzes and somebody else of the world saying that they were like carrying water for the organization by, trying to explain whatever it was that Jones said. You have all that, right? But we all know that the front office has said
someone else was me.
Yeah. Well, you do carry the water because you're bought and paid for.
Yeah,
You're a
exactly.
shill. Dan Hilford, people didn't see it, but Dan Hilford, he actually came up here and gave the talking points to Ant right before the show, so he knows what exactly to say.
Yeah.
As that one guy on Twitter likes to say a lot. But the front office has said rebuild. The coach is not a rebuild guy. Whichever way this thing is going to go, I think we've all been on the same page, and Bundy has as well. You need clarity going into the deadline. And if the wheels are going to fall off here, that gives you a pretty clear indication of what you're going to do. And if they are able to right things, starting with this game against Ottawa, maybe you do continue to sell yourself and these players on the idea that you can make a playoff.
So I think what is going on right now, and Danny's been pretty, I think, upfront about this. They have set a target that they want to get in these trades, potential trades for these players. And if they can get what that target is, I love when I'm talking to you and you're having another conversation.
I'm just on intern Andrew a little bit for the lack of producing right now in the moment, because we're getting a lot of comments in here, and I'm just
Yeah, then he'll put them up.
Will he though?
Yeah, he will.
Really? Go ahead, continue.
My point is that you got to look at this and say, all right, this is what we think this player's value is.
Yeah.
If we don't get that value, we're not just going to trade him for less.
Yes.
Because we're in the playoff race, right? Well,
Yep.
I mean, seriously. I
know.
Why take less than what a guy's worth? Now, let's be honest.
Careful.
The Tanev trade, okay,
Yes.
was not as good as a lot of people thought it was going to be.
Yes.
A lot of people around
the return was
a second and a fourth, I think,
and
it was.
his comparable for the Flyers. I just want to
Sean Walker.
bring people back
Yeah,
in.
yeah.
A second and a fourth.
Yeah. So a lot of people around the league. This wasn't just here in Philadelphia, but a lot of people around the league thought that Tanev would fetch a first-round pick.
Yeah.
So the Flyers are basically saying, well, we're not going to trade Walker unless we get a first-round pick.
Sure.
Now, could that just be Danny, playing poker? Could be.
Yeah.
Could be that he's just saying that, and he's going to, and he might be one of those guys that holds out till like 2:45 on the deadline, and then calls a team back and goes, all right, I'll give them to you for 2 and a 4 or something, whatever. Who knows? Maybe that's what he's doing. But his message has been all along, if you give us what we're asking for, we will make that trade.
Yes.
If we don't get what we're asking for, we're comfortable keeping the players we have and have them make the playoffs.
Yeah.
That's where it's at. And look, they're going to be a third-party broker on the deadline.
I do love that.
Right, they're going to.
I love the flexibility, the optionality.
Yeah. So it gives them so you can still accrue these assets without trading any of these players. You see what I'm saying? Like, you can still get the draft picks and the prospects that you want to get and keep the team together. This is a have your cake and eat it too scenario for the Flyers, right? So you can do both.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean that you shouldn't.
It's so hard to do both.
But they have the flexibility to do both.
They do.
Yeah.
They do and they don't. So I don't want this to become a me and you yell at each other for the entirety of pregame. So I'm going to say right now.
I promise I won't yell at you pregame.
Okay, I appreciate that. I come back to this. You know me. I'm captain. Let's get this thing set up for long-term sustainability. They're not going to tear it down. We know that they're not going to. And nor can they really at the deadline. They can't go down to the studs. And it wouldn't make a lot of sense to do it anyway. Like when people talk about the idea of, hey, do you trade Travis Konechny if you're woefully off on potential contract terms, or you think it's not going to happen? I don't see it, and it doesn't make sense at the deadline. But if you were to say to me, you can have Sean Walker and maybe make the playoffs where you maybe have a competitive first round, maybe you win a round. Right. Or you trade Sean Walker because and this is all, by the way, predicated on his agent and the Flyers brass not being close enough on terms to feel like it's a guarantee or whatever.
I want to kind of get into that a second.
So give me a sec.
Yeah.
We'll get right back to it.
Yeah.
If you're offering me 2 picks for a guy that is essentially found money, a guy that when he was acquired you thought was going to maybe be a 7th defenseman, maybe your third pair guy, I take a 2nd and a 4th all day, every day. I don't look back because it's not about making the pick in the 2nd round or about making the pick in the 4th round. It's about, maybe you do, but maybe you package those together to move up in this draft. Maybe you trade those off to get a pick in the next draft, which you think might be a little bit deeper. And to me, you're not doing yourself any favors, and I think you are kind of committing organizational malpractice at that point if you have a good offer of 2 picks for a guy that, like, you might not end up re-signing anyway. Now, let's get to the contract, though, because that, I think, is where a lot of this hinges. If they're not close, we're talking about a rental, what is essentially a rental of their own that they're hanging on to, or are they close?
Yeah, and I want to first.
We're going to get to.
Well, you had it up. I want to answer the super chat real quick, and then we'll come back to the Sean Walker thing because I think we can tie the two together.
Okay.
All right. So Tony Louie, thank you very much for the super chat. Really appreciate it. He says if you look at their next 12 games. Ottawa, St. Louis, Florida, Tampa, San Jose, Toronto, Boston, Toronto, Carolina, Boston, Florida, Rangers. Do you think that they'll still be in a playoff spot after that? And it's a great question. And it's a great question because I've been talking about this stretch of games since October. And if you go back and listen to any Snow the Goalie since October, you read my stuff on Crossing Broad, I can't have stressed this upcoming stretch enough.
Yes.
Okay? This is going to be where the rubber meets the road for the Flyers. That being said, they've built themselves enough of a cushion, and the teams behind them are not good.
Yes.
Right? Let's keep that. Let's
true.
be honest. The Devils have missed every freaking opportunity that they've had to this point.
Yep.
They lost to Anaheim, right? Is that who they lost to? Is it Anaheim that they just lost to? And then they lost a couple other games that they lost previously when they had a chance to beat bad teams and move up and get closer to the Flyers. And
Still have a game in hand.
Have not done it. So that's my point. The fact of the matter is the Flyers only have to go roughly 500.
Yes.
And if they do, these other teams are going to have such a hard time to catch them.
Yeah.
They really are.
Maybe.
Because it's because, as Bundy likes to say and has been saying for a few weeks now, it's easier to hold on to a playoff spot than it is to climb into one.
Yes.
Right? You don't fall out of playoffs, but usually, they say, in hockey, when you look at the standings on Thanksgiving, that's usually the teams that make the playoffs.
Yeah.
And the reason is because of the loser point, right? You get a point sometimes when you lose, and so you hold on to your spot.
That's how the Islanders are still in this thing, despite the fact that they're under 500. Like if you play the actual game here where you combine losses and overtime losses,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
They're like well under 500, but they have 14 points because of the overtime loss, shootout loss rule, right? 14 points. Okay.
So to get back to the conversation, so you know, it's look, they're not a lock. I'm not going to sit here and tell you they're a lock to make.
No,
the
they're
playoffs.
on tenuous footing.
But they are. If you said to me, are they on the northern side of 50-50 or on the southern side of 50-50? I still say they're on the northern side of 50-50 because of the teams behind them aren't very good.
Well, and the other thing too is not even in the Met. It's just the playoff picture in general, right? Like we think that both wild cards will likely come from the Atlantic.
I think Detroit and Tampa are both going to get in.
Detroit's at 72 points, 3 more than the Flyers. Same games played. The Lightning have technically played 1 more game. They have an additional point. But if you were gonna say to me, do I think Tampa's gonna make it? Yes, because at this point in the year, teams with Stanley Cup pedigree, they're gonna find their way in, and they're gonna be. That's not a team anybody's gonna want to play, despite the fact that they're probably gonna finish as a wild card. It really does kind of come down to the 3rd spot in the Met.
Yeah.
And I guess if I'm being honest, the thing that I push back on here is, all right, the Caps aren't a great team. They have won a cup before. They still have some of that pedigree.
Only a couple.
They have 2 games in hand.
Yeah, they stink.
The Islanders, they stink. I can't imagine, but they still have 2 games in hand.
Yeah.
You know what team I actually do look at, and I know that
Pittsburgh, because they have 4 games in hand. But again,
4 games in hand and a Stanley Cup pedigree, and you put all the chips down.
But you saw that team.
I know they're not good.
They're defensively, they stink. They have no depth. They're a top-heavy team, and you need Crosby to have the kind of Hall of Fame type game like he had against the Flyers to really be a team that you say, oh well, if Crosby's playing like that again every night, okay, fine. He now is at the point in the career where he only does that once in a blue moon. Turns out he does it against the Flyers all the time.
They have a hidden sniper though. Yeah, Jeff Carter.
Jeff Carter, right?
No, but
1,300 games, by the way, in the NHL.
Seriously,
pretty good.
Though, if you were going to say to me though,
that.
do I think that there's a chance Pittsburgh makes it? I do. If you've learned nothing as a hockey fan to this point in your life, however long you've been watching hockey, I don't bet against Crosby, Malkin, and Letang. I just don't, and I get it. But they do have games in hand, and when the rubber meets the road, when you get to that point, that stretch run, I would not bet against them. If nothing else, they're going to make it a really nervy experience for the Flyers, maybe the Devils, whoever is in contention for that 3rd spot.
The Devils should be the team.
They should be.
They should be. They have the most talent of the teams that are chasing the Flyers. They should be the team that is putting the pressure on the Flyers. And they've missed a couple of opportunities to do so here. There's still time. They certainly can.
Yeah.
But so yes, the rubber's going to meet the road. And so now you got to ask yourself if you're the Flyers, right? If you don't think you're getting that value, so here's where they're at. All right, right now they're the issues with the contract negotiations for Nick Seeler and for Sean Walker. For Sean Walker right now, the money is off. Okay, for Sean Walker right now, the contract is. I think that his agent is looking for, from what I'm hearing and what I'm being told, the agent wants it to be $5 million a year.
No.
And the Flyers, I think, are in that $4 million kind of range.
Still high
for Sean Walker. But is it though? Look, if you're looking at,
if he were 27, absolutely not. I mean,
how long do you want to sign him for?
At his age, and like where he fits. I mean, if you said you were going to sign him to a 2 or 3 year deal,
he wants more than that.
Well, then no. We're talking about their positioning to the playoffs, and we're talking about the potential of re-signing Walker and what that number looks like. And really quickly, now I think people can figure out, who have been with us since the very beginning of pregame, the thing that was synced up. It wasn't just Anthony and I wearing the same top or same color. Bundy, looking extra fancy tonight. A distinguished gentleman.
Yeah, mic's not on.
His mic's on, Andrew.
Jesus.
There you go.
Intern.
Nice guy. Nice guy. The reason for the season. All right.
Welcome to Tom Selleck night here at Snow the Goalie.
Ant would join us if he could grow facial hair.
Magnum PI night.
I actually can grow facial hair.
Do we do a Freddie Mercury night instead?
Freddie Mercury. Yeah, you got that. You got the Anchorman look going. Actually, I think it's a little bit of a little.
Stay classy, Philadelphia.
Tell San Diego what they should do.
Yeah,
stay classy.
Yeah.
No, but okay. So really quick, as we let's loop back into Walker here in a second. You were saying about how for weeks, months, you've been saying a certain thing about it's going to be hard to fall out of the spot. Bundy said it's harder to fall out of a spot than to get into one. What's the one thing that I've been very vocal about this entire time? You need to be 7 games over 500 by the time the deadline hits because of that stretch that you're going to be going into the deadline and coming out of the deadline on. And as things stand right now, and I look at this very black and white, I don't look at losses and overtime losses as separate. I look at them together. You are 1 game over 500 with a very tough stretch coming up. So that question before about, like, do you think that they're going to make the playoffs? While I agree with you, there's probably a better than 50% chance just given the ineptitude of the rest of the division.
Yeah.
I still don't like it. I still don't like their chance. I still think that there's a chance that, like, this team really starts to bleed, and they do it considerably leading up to and then following the deadline. But I could be wrong. Walker, though, $5 million, if that's what his agent.
So let me put it to you this way, right? So let's say he wants 5 years, and the Flyers only want to give him 4, and he comes back and he says, all right, give me the extra year. You keep me at the AAV at 4.5. Are you okay with that? Are you okay with 4.5 for 5 years?
Yeah, I think that's fair.
Right?
Is that what they want? I mean, is that...
Well, so I think that what we're looking at is I think that the Flyers were offering $4 million a year, and I think Walker would want 5. But if the Flyers are willing to go to a 5th year, there maybe the agent will bring that contract down a little bit, maybe to like 4.5 as your AAV.
It's amazing we're even talking about this, isn't it? But he's going to get a contract somewhere. But I mean, yeah.
Is he worth that money? Right shot defenseman.
Yeah.
Chief called him Steady Eddie. Right.
Yeah.
You know, is that guy at 32 years old now? Is he worth?
He's not 32.
What is he? 31?
He's 29. Walker's 29.
29.
He turns 30 in November.
Okay, 30. I'm thinking of Sealers 32.
Yeah.
My
okay.
bad.
That's okay.
Walker's
we all
29.
make mistakes. I don't, but you do. But
Walker's
okay.
29. But yes. So I mean, are you willing to pay him till age 34 at 4.5 a year?
No.
Thank you, Bundy.
I'm not.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm not. But I mean, because I think there's guys out there that you can bring along. Again, it all depends what their view is of is this a retool now? Is it a rebuild still? Is it we've developed guys, so it's not what it was? I don't know. He's played well, right? But has he ever? And again, I know it's stay in the moment. Is this the best year that Sean Walker's ever had in his life?
Yes.
At
so
29,
without a doubt.
Well, you got to remember he's coming off of injury.
Because
right?
Bundy, if that weren't the case, when they acquired him this offseason, people wouldn't have been talking about him as, what is this guy exactly? They would have said, hey, do you remember his first year, his second year? They would have had like the ghost kind of conversation. Hey, how about those first couple of years, the points he produced? Or like, hey, I don't remember. Was he drafted by the Kings? Was he or no?
Yeah.
Okay, because I was going to say, like, otherwise you'd be like, oh, remember when he played for
Has he ever played a playoff game?
Yeah, for LA.
Yeah. But not memorable.
I'm not going to. Maybe intern Andrew will pull up with his.
I haven't looked at his career stats of Sean Walker. So
no, but I'm saying here's the other thing that we're not really saying. Like, you know, we're looking at this and saying, well, no, you wouldn't pay that money, and you wouldn't pay that money, and I get it, I understand, and it's a good debate to have.
You got to get rid of money though, and I'm not. See, I'm considering everything before you say what you're going to say. You still got Risto here making that crazy money.
We're going to get to
and unable to move him because he's
right.
hurt.
Right.
Where maybe you thought you were going to move him, and
that's part of my calculation. I should have said that.
Yeah.
But no, because you have Risto now. If you get rid of Risto, I'm fine because Walker is a much better player than Risto.
Okay, so here's the thing, right? The other thing that's not, and you're right. We have to get to Risto line, and we'll get to that in a minute. When you have the salary cap going up, as it's going to do finally. After all these years of a flat cap, thank you, COVID, a $4.5 million AAV, you're really looking at, by the time you're getting, as with each additional year on this contract, that's third pair money or less.
Pull up Rob's comment again.
Right? It's third pair money or less.
Yeah, that one.
Third pair money is between. Well, you know what, Anthony? There's a lot of third pairs that have the $800,000 guy on it.
Sure.
A lot of them, and they're being fiscally responsible.
Which is why Sealer's had a lot of value because he's on a great cap hit.
But what I'm saying is, if you're going to pay, now they're talking. Okay, now we've opened a whole book because now if you're talking about paying Sealer 3+, I'm not paying that either.
There you go.
Yeah,
I won't pay that. I'll tell some young guy to come do the job for $750 to start and then train him up.
If you can't develop a guy by the time you think you're going to flip the switch in a couple of years or 3 years, if your organization can't draft that guy, find that guy along the margins in free agency via a trade.
So let me ask you this.
If you can't do that in 3 years, then that says a whole hell of a lot more about your organization than it does about the value of
Let's look at
Sean Walker.
Let's look at what you say are who they got coming defensively prospect-wise, okay?
Yeah.
All right. So you got 3 guys that I think you look at and say these are NHL caliber players, all right? One, of course, is Bonk, but Bonk is still in junior. He's not going to be NHL ready for at least 2 years, okay?
Yeah.
So that's one guy that you can't look at and say the next 2 years he's not part of it. And then when he comes in, he's still a rookie. Right?
Yeah, and he's got to develop.
So he's got to develop.
Yeah.
He's got time.
Yeah.
So he's part of your future, but he's not part of the when you think you're a contender future. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So that's number one. So you got to push him aside.
Yeah.
So then you have Emil Andre and Ronnie Attard.
Yes.
Okay. Ronnie Attard he came up and played here a couple years ago. He came up and played a little bit last year. He's in the AHL all year again this year until they just called him up just now, and he's still not really getting into the lineup.
Correct.
What does that tell you? What they feel is his development?
Yeah.
At this point. So to sit there and say, well, we don't want to keep these guys because we want to put some other young kids in. But if the young kids aren't good enough to play, wouldn't you rather have a veteran player than have one because they don't have the prospect?
But in fairness, though, the simple counterpoint is the coach wants to win games. And the coach does have influence on what the roster should be. And, like, the amount of pull that he might have with the roster, like, we can debate, or how much he should have, we can debate. But, like, if you really were in full rebuild, like, if you truly were in full rebuild, you would say you take on some growing pains, you have those guys traveling with the team, or at least one of them, you're rotating those guys in. I think that as long as this team has a chance to make the playoffs, this coach doesn't feel the need to try to get one of those guys into the lineup.
You want to put it on the coach, Russ, but this is not a coach's thing. To me, look, he's not watching them play down in the AHL.
Yeah.
He's getting reports from the coaches down in the AHL and from the development guys like Johnny and Sharpie who are going down and watching. I'm sure the assistant GM's going to Lehigh games, right? Brett Flair's going to go to those games as well and check them out. I'm sure Danny's going up to look at him and Jonesy's going up to look at him. And they're all collectively looking at it and saying, Ronnie Attard's not an NHL guy right now.
This is the problem here. This one statement here is pretty much sums it. I can't get it up here.
Which one?
You can't develop goalies by throwing low ceiling age. That's completely ridiculous because every team has that. There's no team that has 8 awesome NHL defensemen on their team. Every team's got 2D they'd like to get rid of. Trust me when I tell you.
Yeah, it's always that way.
100%.
It's always that way. And so I think that the fact is that Danny's looking at this and saying, look, we're open for business, and I'm open to moving Sean Walker. I'm open to moving Nick Sealer, but this is what I think is their value. And if we can't get this value in return, we're better off keeping these 2 guys, or at least one of the 2 guys, if not both of them, because we don't have those young defensemen ready to take that next step and come into the lineup. Now Ristolainen, Danny would like to move on from Ristolainen. Believe me when I tell you, they would like to trade Rasmus.
That's what you need a time machine for that one.
No, he would really like to.
If only the rest of the hockey world had told.
And there's a possibility.
What was that signing?
Hold on. There's a possibility that he could get moved in the offseason. We talked about this before.
Probably with a decent chunk of salary
retention.
That's
the Chucky special we call that one.
No, but the teams are more willing to take him on in the offseason when they can do a whole training camp with him and get him into their system and learning how things go with that team.
I'll be shocked if I don't think there's going to be as many people lined up for him as you think there is.
No, I mean, why would there be?
Well, because you're taking, but also keep in mind, Bundy, you're taking a year off of that contract. You're a year closer to it being done.
Yeah, but you still pay that guy though.
The cap goes up, and 5.1 is not an awful number.
Yeah, but
keeps climbing.
But you are going to have money tied in retention to pay for him to not play here.
Probably.
Yeah, which is like kind of an issue.
But you also get a better return by doing that. You get a better prospect.
Depends on what
pick.
it is. Yeah, sure.
Sure, right. I mean, so there is that as well.
I just have this moment where I feel like there are times that I'm taking these people at their word for what they said they were going to do and what they thought they needed to do to make this thing a perennial contender, and that this allure of trying to make the playoffs as this upstart team has kind of clouded some judgment. And I'm not again, you can't tear it to the studs now at the deadline. There's no blockbuster deal to be made.
They were never tearing it to the studs.
But I'm not saying they were. Maybe they should have, but they're not. But we're talking, not we, you're talking about Sean Walker as if he's somebody who is going to like be part of a team that would be like core-ish, that's going to like lead them into that perennial contending window, and he's not. He's a guy.
So who replaces him, Russ?
I don't care.
Well, that's the problem. That's the problem with your
It's not
take.
though, because they're not Boston, they're not Tampa, they're not Florida, they're not a team that's trying to contend.
So how long do you go? How long do you go when you don't have a defenseman or two defensemen? Because Sealer wants a contract too.
So but it's what he wants. So what I'm saying is that, listen, they got Nick Sealer in here after he worked in his dad's office for a year.
Yeah.
Like, he went back to work.
Yeah.
This is where we're at with the amount of players in the NHL, and I want people to realize there's too many players in this league, and there's a whole bunch of them that really aren't that good.
And they're going to expand.
And they're
We should
playing
expand.
in the league now. They play in this league. So that's what I'm telling you. You don't have to. A guy was working for his dad and came back and said, you know what, I'm going to give my NHL career a try again. And he made it happen.
And good on him.
Great on him.
He's going to get him.
Make a movie. I love it. I can't wait to see it.
He's going to get himself a hell of a contract, and good on him. But it doesn't have to be here.
But that's what I'm saying. You're right.
And
Someone else will get
Sean
him.
Walker, this is the other thing. All these people who come back with, well, Sean Walker's going to get 4.5. He might get 5 on the open market. Just because some team is willing to give him it doesn't mean you have to be the team.
Do I like Nick Sealer? No. I love Nick Sealer.
Yeah.
But not at 3.5.
Absolutely not.
No chance.
No. The beauty of Sealer, and the thing that, like, even if you go back to a year ago when people were like, hey, why is he getting playing time, or why does the coach seem enamored with him? It's because of the intangibles, but it's also because of the cap hit, and the cap hit was super low, right? But, if you're going to talk about $3.5 million to play on your third pair, when you currently have a guy who's out injured, who's making, how much does Risto make every year?
5.1.
5.1. To be a quote-unquote top pair defenseman, which he is not.
He's a third pair or a 7 at getting into that stage.
And then
now.
say, well, maybe you pay 4.5 to Walker. Like, at some point, you just have to look at it and say, you can't tie that much money, cap going up or not. You can't tie that much money up into mediocre guys. Look what flat out, they're mediocre guys. They're good for this team because this team is better than expected, but they're not. Sean Walker's not a second pair defenseman on a Stanley Cup contending team. Nick Sealer isn't probably an every night third pair defenseman on a Stanley Cup contender.
I don't know about that. No, but
that's what I'm saying.
I don't know.
And if you're trying to build over the next few years to be that team, you can't even entertain the idea of, like, what, even in a good scenario, $6 million, $7 million between those two.
Who are the players that are going to be
free
there?
agents?
You want me to tell you?
And how much are you going to pay them?
You're not going to get a free agent for that price.
Okay.
But let me tell you, if you want to get younger defensemen, here's what I would do. I would go looking around the league for teams that have really flailed, all right? Have really had no structure. And I would go look for 2 defensemen young on any team that have a little bit of playoff experience and have what I would consider age upside.
Yeah.
Now, how do you do that? You're going to have to probably make a trade to do that.
Sure.
Because in free agency, if you want those guys, you're going to have to probably pay what those guys are asking for.
Yeah.
And now, listen, I'm not saying the number isn't right. I'm saying the number isn't right for here.
Idea. We talked about the fact that the Flyers could be a third team in a lot of deals, right? Taking on bad cap hits. I know teams don't like to give up on young defensemen. However, there are guys that teams do kind of say, you know what we projected for this defenseman, it's not happening fast enough, or we don't think it's going to happen. Why can't you take a shot on a reclamation project for a young guy and give him some time, but give him an off season, give him the time and see if he can develop?
It sounds such an easy thing to do.
But they did it here, though. They did it with Walker and Sealer.
Yes,
they did.
They did
the exact same thing. And again, Walker wasn't a guy that anybody thought they'd get anything
So
from.
that's my point. They have them.
But like you keep
the reclamation projects
you are very
have
much. And look, we all like Sean Walker, but like there's something. You are Bill Meltzer with Morgan Frost.
No,
like
I'm
to
okay
Sean
with
Walker.
trading Sean Walker.
Walker's a lovely player, but what the hell are we doing? We're talking. The team might make the playoffs. The team might sell, and we're having a conversation, all due respect, about Sean freaking Walker. What are we doing? Like really? If the whole concept of the rebuild or the going for the playoffs hinges on Sean Walker. We have lost the plot. We've lost the entire scope of what this thing is supposed to be. This is how you end up in mediocrity. This is how you fall out of the public conscience. This is how you end up as the 4th, maybe 5th team in a city. You cannot get stuck on these kinds of guys and give them contracts like that. You just can't.
You got a pick on the game tonight, Bundy?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah, what do you got?
6-4 Ottawa.
Okay. Intern Andrew, what do you got for the game?
6-4 Ottawa?
Did you pick 6?
I never thought about it until you just said it. Came right out of my mouth.
6-4.
Never considered. I just said 6-4 Ottawa.
Who's in net?
Sandstrom.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
And Ottawa's got a guy in there that, if you're from Ottawa, I mean, he may have been playing men's league at Sandy Hill Arena.
All right.
Intern Andrew.
Get ready for some pepper tonight, boys.
I went 5-2 Flyers. I texted Russ last night. I have officially declared tonight a must-win game.
It's a must. It is.
It's officially been declared.
Wow.
What do you got, Russ?
I don't know. Felix Sandstrom, not a great goalie. Cal Peterson, not a great goalie. Ottawa Senators, not a great team. Philadelphia Flyers, a decent team. 3-2 All right, 3-2 Flyers. But
3-2.
Dude, if John Tortorella, though, does what he did to Bobby Brink again tonight like he did last night, we're going to have a chat.
3-2.
3-2.
Yeah,
I think Sandstrom's going to actually play like not total garbage. They're going to play tight in front of him.
Kachuk is out of the lineup?
Yeah.
Yeah, so
we'll
still picking Ottawa.
Yeah. We'll talk about the Bobby Brink thing during first intermission since we never got to it. But we'll bring it up again, especially after we see how he plays in the first period since he is in the lineup.
It is nice that the coach is at least going back to him. He emasculated him on TV.
He ain't going back to Ole Lixel. We put Cam Atkinson in for Lixel tonight.
Yeah.
I'm going to go 5-3 Flyers is my score. 5-3 Flyers. I think, like intern Andrew, I agree. It's a must-win game for them after losing last night. And if they lose this one and you turn out to be right, Bundy, then the free fall is on.
Well, and so my concern is the hangover from last night, because last night wasn't just a loss. Last night they got run over. And my issue with the game last night was that the false sense of security that they may have had at the end of the first. I mean, they're a different team, and we've seen them do that to teams. So I'm thinking to myself, can they regroup this quickly off a loss? And Ottawa has won, 7 out of 8 against the Flyers?
Yeah, it's unbelievable.
It's unbelievable numbers. So that's why. And again, Ottawa's team is playing for nothing. The Flyers actually have some they have some pressure on them. They really do. And I think that's a good thing.
We'll see how this plays out. Less than a minute until Lauren Hart takes the ice to sing the national anthem. We want to thank everybody who joined us here on Pregame. Don't forget, we're back here, intermissions and postgame. The #1 rated, believe it or not, pregame, intermission, and postgame show this side of the Mississippi and south of the Arctic Circle. If you haven't done so already, please, if you're on YouTube, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, ring the bell so you're notified whenever we go live. This is going to be up the whole time. We'll have the StatCast going to keep you apprised of what's going on. And who knows, if the power goes out, maybe we'll do a special power outage delayed show. But we'll be back first intermission. And Bundy, who's already off signing an autograph, and I will be back here with intern Andrew. First intermission, second intermission, intern Andrew's trivia hours. So don't miss that. And don't forget to go over to shop.snowthegoalie.com. Get your tickets for the Press Road Show, March 16th at La Sicilia. Big Italian buffet. Going to watch it on a big screen. We'll talk more about that during the first intermission. Thank you for joining us. We will talk to you in 20-something minutes, 30-something minutes, whatever it is. Talk to you soon. Welcome into the Press Row Show, the #1 rated pregame, intermission, and postgame show this side of the Mississippi and south of the Arctic Circle. I'm Russ Joy. That's Anthony SanFilippo. And that beaut on the end with the mustache, well, that's none other than Bundy, Chris Therien.
Well, you're going to call him Tom Selleck?
I was thinking of a bunch of different names, and most of them are inappropriate. We can't say them here on the Press Row Show, but we sure can on Snow the Goalie, the Only Flyers podcast, which you can find on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Pandora, wherever you get your podcasts.
If I had a Detroit Tigers hat, I'd be really set right now.
That's right, you would. He has no idea what you mean by that.
No clue at all, Russ, do you?
Russ has no idea what you mean by that.
All right. That's what
Although I would say, like, if we aged you up about 20 years, 30 years, now let's say 40, you could pull off a Jim Leland.
Jeez. Put the cigarette in my mouth, too?
The Tigers hat, the stash. Jim Leland had a very nice stash. Anthony didn't know I had that pull in me. Here we go. Welcome into the first intermission show. The Flyers.
The fact that you think Jim Leland's 92 years old is troubling.
I'm saying that for Bundy to look like Jim Leland.
Anything before 1990 didn't exist.
That's true. Right. I'm saying that for Bundy to look as old as Jim Leland, he'd have to age up 40 years. You're missing the context. See, Anthony is still just not feeling himself after getting smacked down in pregame about his absurd takes.
Is that what that was?
It was.
I never looked at it like
Bundy
that.
Was good tag team. It was good tag team there. You know. Anyway, welcome in. Flyers winning 1-0 after one. Now, Bundy, you mentioned a stat as we were coming on air about the Flyers and about something that is kind of they've struggled with all season. And what would that be, Bundy?
Well, that would be the power play. And so there's a couple things I'll say that were good in this period. The lead, again, the early lead was great for the Flyers. They got Joel Farabee going, which is good because he's not been going in terms of goal scoring. And but the other thing, guys, Flyers 0 for 3 on the power play that period. And what I hate about that is that they were 0 for 3, which we're kind of used to.
Yeah.
But not in the first period. And so what that spells for me always is make-up calls. And now they're going to try to even it out and get the Senators their power plays, and that's where the game is still kind of hanging around for me. The Flyers had a dominant period. They threw a ton of pucks. I saw a 20 on the board inside the last 20 seconds.
How about this, Bundy?
Yeah.
30 total shot attempts in the period.
Yeah, that's unbelievable. That's a load of shots.
20 on goal, 9 that were blocked, and 1 that missed the net.
Yeah, and Ottawa doesn't look like they're that engaged, but the problem I have is it's only 1-0 Philadelphia.
Yep.
And Ottawa looked like, they didn't even go into the middle of the ice.
Yeah.
They just were playing on the perimeter. They looked like they were trying to avoid injury. So if you smell that, and you got to smell that as a player in the locker room, if you're a Flyer, like, guys, let's get on these guys because they just look disinterested. They look like they had the life sucked out of them last night in that Arizona loss. Their captain is not available for the game. That's Brady Tkachuk. And Ottawa is 25-30, and I believe 5 is their record. And they're playing it out, but they probably think there's a chance. And the only way they think Ottawa's going to have an opportunity tonight, Anthony Russ, is the power play, which they have not yet got.
I'll tell you what. I picked Ottawa to have 3 in the score before the game. Maybe I meant scoring chances.
Yeah, they were bad. They were bad.
They did nothing.
Yeah.
They had 1 shot that I thought was a high percentage chance.
Yep.
Sandstrom made the save. That was off of a Bobby Brink mistake down low early in the period. And then other than that, I was like the whole period was in their zone. The whole period. They did nothing.
They did nothing.
They looked largely disinterested.
It was unbelievable.
Took lazy penalties. That's how he ended up in the box. But that's just the game.
Chikrin's penalty was as lazy as it gets.
Yeah. He struggled there in Ottawa this year. I don't know why, because I know they went really out of their way to get him. And you know, there was a time like 2 or 3 years ago they were talking about Chikrin the first half of the year was like a Norris Trophy type of player in Arizona.
That was a big thing here too. Was it last year or 2 years ago?
2 years ago they wanted to bring Chikrin here.
Yeah.
When he was with Arizona.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know if he's just lost. I think it may be the team. He may need to just move again and find the right accommodation. I don't think it's Ottawa. It's in a way in his hometown. And Jeff, former Flyer, number 6 here as well, and a great guy, great family. But yeah, it hasn't worked out in Ottawa for Chikrin and where it did in Arizona.
What's that deal look like with Chikrin?
Oh, here we go. Russ is going to come up with a trade for us.
I'm just saying, we were talking about change of scenery kind of guys.
This team needs to rebuild.
How old is Chikrin? How old's Chikrin? How old's Chikrin?
Oh,
How old's
let's
Chikrin?
trade for Chikrin.
Yeah, here he goes.
Let's trade for Chikrin.
How old is he? Go ahead, look it up. How old is he? How old is he? How old is he?
Go ahead there, intern.
How old is Chikrin? And what's his cap hit? And what's his contract?
Go ahead.
I love that you're going to try to somehow equate this to Sean Walker.
No, I'm not trying to.
He's 25.
He's 20. Oh wait, I'm sorry. He's what? He's 25.
And what's his contract?
He's 20, what is the contract? Do you have it there? Cap Friendly's our friend.
I'm trying to.
Cap Friendly's our friend.
All right, it's not on his Wikipedia, so.
Oh my gosh!
Stand by.
Intern.
You're gonna find it
I'll pull
on
it up
Cap
here.
Friendly. Thank you.
Yeah.
Chikrin 25.
I think he makes like 4.
Yeah, but he didn't. Did he get a new deal? I don't think he's gotten it. He didn't get a deal since he went to Ottawa, did he?
6 years, 27.6.
So
4.5 a year.
4.5.
4.5 a year. You know what, Bundy? I'll tell you what. If it's $4.5 million for 29-year-old Sean Walker, or $4.5 million for 25-year-old Chikrin, I might be intrigued.
So let me ask you this, genius.
Yeah.
What are you giving up to get Jeff Chikrin?
Rasmus Ristolainen,
Or Jacob Chikrin.
a fantastic veteran who can
Ottawa
really
will
help
never
Ottawa.
do
Who
that
can
deal.
help? It's a joke. Who could help the Senators make it to the playoffs? Risto can watch Claude Giroux's back. I have no idea.
Exactly.
I don't know.
You
Well,
said
listen,
it yourself.
listen.
Intern Andrew, can we
If-
clip that?
What?
Clip that.
I
I have
have
no
no
idea,
idea.
because that encompasses.
Well, I don't know. I'm not Danny
everything
Briere.
that we've endured
I'm not Danny Briere.
tonight.
Look, if the Flyers actually, which they were, if they were interested a couple years ago in Chikrin, and they think that he's just not working out in Ottawa, and they can get him as a somewhat distressed asset, unless Ottawa has a ridiculous asking price, which maybe they would. Who knows? You have to pick up the phone and call, right? What did Chuck say last year? It's hard to make trades. And he called a lot of people. Takes 2 to have a conversation. Listen, you reach out to Ottawa, you find out what the what the value is, what they value him as. Do they value him as a distressed guy? Probably not. If they do, that's where you find some value on the margins, my friend.
Yeah, they're not getting them cheap.
Let's talk about something from last night that we didn't get to pregame that had a lot of people incensed and a lot of people in the comments going off. And I want to go to Bundy first, because you've gotten yelled at, I'm sure, in your time as a player.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. The league is a little bit different, right? There's always a conversation about how the league is starting to go a different way. Torts called it a stupid league not that long ago. A lot of young guys that just don't have the hockey IQ necessarily. He really did go off on Brink last night. Now, it's a viral-ish clip because it's 2 or 3 seconds where he tells him to get off the effing ice. But some people really took that the wrong way. They got very worked up on Twitter. I can't imagine. When you see a moment like that from a guy like Brink, who started off the season really strong, was given a lot of leeway, didn't perform, got sent down, came up, scored a couple of goals in a couple of games. When you see him get yelled at like that, knowing the way that the league is kind of heading, knowing that a player's ego or self-worth or whatever can be fragile at this level, especially for a guy who's been sent down, do you look at that and say, I don't know, like maybe it messes with him or no?
I can't believe I'm even listening to this right now. But you know what, Russ? It's a different little world we live in.
I'm just saying
everybody gets a trophy. You know what? I got destroyed when I came in, and you kind of like thinking yourself, what do you do? But again, you wore that as a badge of honor 25 years ago, which wasn't that long ago, and we're not used to seeing that, right? But it depends what the level of the relationship, the coach, and the content of the discussions we've had, or the coaches had with that player. So you can just have completely unraveled confusion, and where you just become so mad in the moment. But yes, I've never had a coach ever yell at me like that going to a bench.
Really?
Never, ever one time. If you can find me a clip, go for it.
You know, we should ask.
Way.
You know, we should ask to find that clip.
Where Philly Heritage.
Yeah,
that guy's the best. Chris is his name. Yeah, PHI Heritage. Give it a follow on Twitter. This guy gets some really good stuff, digs it up, and like there was an interview with me last week. I never would have found that anywhere.
Yeah,
it's just cool. Like
I don't know where he's finding this stuff, but it's great.
Yeah,
it
it's
really
fantastic.
It really is.
Great guy.
So
again, going back to now I've been behind doors where I've been called to Clark's office, and that's never like he's not calling you up to tell you how great you've been. Keep up the good work. There's always messaging going on to get the player to play at his optimal ability, and believe me, things are probably significantly different. You have to probably stroke guys more now, like you are so good, just be that guy, rather than being you stink, you suck, you need to be better than you've been. And that was really mild.
Yeah.
But never coming to a bench. That's where I would draw the line as a coach, to not embarrass that player. I always consider families too. I know what people are going to say. That doesn't mean anything. It does, because the guy's in your lineup, and if you want to have that discussion, you can do that after. But you have to have the fortitude to do it. It's hard sometimes, and I'm not saying Torts was wrong because he's a fiery guy, and I get that. But at the same time, I was thinking, if someone's parents are watching, like, would you do that? Do that to Cam Atkinson? Because if anybody deserved to be screamed at like that, it would have been the longtime veteran who flipped pucks into the middle of the ice regularly, gives teams opportunities. So my issue with the coach, be fair. I don't care if the guy's been in the league 15 years or 15 games. When he's dressed for you that night, I'm about respect. If you want to scream your lungs out at him after in your office, go for it.
Yeah. So you wouldn't say that it was an overstep necessarily, but not advisable, I guess. I look at the context, right? Like, I don't disagree with you about it doesn't matter how long you've been in the league. I think that for a guy that had definitely lost his confidence before he got sent down, came up here, created an opportunity a couple nights ago, got himself a goal, seemed to be trending that direction. He does make mistakes. He's also a young player that they didn't think was going to make the team out of camp until he came in and really earned his way onto the team. I worry more just about the psyche, about like he had only been up for a couple of games, and you do that. I don't necessarily think that is a great call on the coach's part, just because you're trying to get him back on track. And in theory, you think that, like, he could contribute to this team down the stretch. And certainly you think he's going to be part of the future here. Well,
if we're talking about replacing players, that's an easy replacement for Atkinson. If that's what you think, maybe there's another option that you go look at in the summer. I mean, is he... we've had guys like Matt Reed in here that played a long time.
Sure.
Again, there's not enough bodies. Like in the league where you're going to have 20 great players on your team, so you have to find room for these guys. I think Brink's got a spot, but we and Anthony were talking about this before. I don't know if Torts thinks every single guy that's like under 5'9" you could turn into Marty St. Louis. I don't know that.
Yeah.
But again, he's had success with guys like that, and so I think that he thinks that there's guys that are just, we can find that offensive gear. If you're smaller, find those seams, you can dart through them. And again, I'm going to tell you, there's really only one Marty St. Louis.
Yeah.
Was able to do that in that magical year and continue it.
Yeah. He comes. And where do you land on this?
Well, he comes from a different era.
Who's he?
Torts.
Ah, yes.
I mean, so, like, to me, this guy has done this with other teams, with other players, and other coaches have done this, too. Now, there's not as many left that do it that way.
Yeah.
There certainly isn't. And Bundy, I know you said you didn't have it happen to you, but I mean, like, what do you think the guys were, again, this is another era, but what do you think that the players who played for Keenan experienced?
Oh, it was brutal.
It was that.
Yeah, like, I mean.
And it was that all the time.
So, to give you a great story time.
Yeah, I love it.
I love it.
Mike Keenan, right? I love this.
Iron Mike.
I would love if Torts did this. He won't, but I'd love it. They went to Lake Placid for training camp in like 1986. And they had a scrimmage. This is like, you got like Tocchet, you got Mellenby, you got the whole group, right?
Yeah.
And so Torts walks in the locker room with his equipment on. Says, okay, boys, you want your shot at me? Today's your day.
Keenan did that.
Put on switch jerseys, put like the orange on one and the white on the other, and he went out and played like he was a player. They pummeled him all over the ice. They literally tried to kill Mike Keenan, and I've heard the story multiple times. Like, it was unbelievable. You know what? If I'm going to treat you like that, I'm going to come out and play with you guys, and I'm going to go through what maybe I don't know, and that's playing in the NHL. But I can sure hold you guys accountable for it and scream at you. I love that story. I mean, he came in, walked in, all right, boys, here's your chance. You want it? Come and get it.
Well, Torts is currently on IR with the wrist. I guess, or the hand. Sorry, the hand.
Now, obviously, would that happen? No. But this is like, if you take the mindset of a John Tortorella, it's like taking Patton and sticking him in the U.S. military today.
Yeah, okay.
What would he think?
But that's my point. Like, I think that we're in a time now where everybody views that as unacceptable. And I think that there was a time when no one would have even batted an eyelash.
Yeah.
At a coach yelling at a player like that on the ice.
In fairness, he's shown a much more warm and cuddly side, especially this year where there have been games that we thought he would go off on the media or whatever after a game. I mean, he does you because you're you. But, like, I think people expected a much more fiery John Tortorella, and they haven't really gotten it. I mean, hell, there was a video going around on social media yesterday of him, like, practically ready to cry because somebody adopted, what was the dog's name? Coffee Cake?
Yeah.
It was Coffee Cake. Now, little did anybody know, but they were preparing the transition for Torts, like getting ready to cry, saying like, "Oh, who adopted him?" And then it's gonna cut to Anthony. Bum bum bum. So, how's Coffee Cake doing, Ant?
Oh, cupcake.
Coffee Cake, dude. I'll tell you what. The funniest thing. I wish we had known about Coffee Cake. I would have adopted Coffee Cake under Ant's name. That could have been the way to bridge a gap. To have Torts sit down. What would Torts have done? All right, because in fairness, he treated that dog.
He would have eaten the cupcake.
He treated. In fairness, he treated that dog better than many humans. But then yesterday, he treated Bobby Brink more like a bad dog. So like, there's an inverse proportionality. I just don't understand it. But if Anthony had been the one to adopt the dog, and we're not sure, maybe he did. Ant hasn't told us. Ant, can you say definitively either way whether or not you're the one who has adopted Coffee Cake?
I have not adopted Coffee Cake.
Did you change Coffee Cake's name?
Do you think that you and Torts could bond through a dog?
I would
if you like brought a little dog down there after, you think he'd start answering questions?
Cute little, like a little Westie.
Like a little Bichon.
Little Westie, yeah.
Hey, look at here. Look, this is little Cupcake sister. Come on over here. It's
Tasty
Cupcake's
Cake.
little sister here.
This is Candy Cake. We figured it out. We need one of our listeners to donate their little bag dog.
Hockey for hound, or hockey and hounds,
hound dogs and
whatever his thing's called that he does.
Yeah.
With Jason.
Yes.
You got to tune in and see what the next dog is that he's adopting, and then adopt it under my name. That's what you need to do.
You ever notice the dogs always have like a really interesting name, like beer, or like something like it's like. Like
it's never Fido.
Like a name you'd get at like the shelter where they have no idea what the dog's name was, so we'll just give it a random name like Bob. Come on out and adopt Bob.
Yeah, that used to be. I actually did that once on the radio.
You adopted a dog to start a conversation with Torts on the radio?
No. But I was working at a radio station. I was working at WIP, and I adopted a dog through them. And what a dog was cute as can be at the beginning. That dog was insane. That dog drove me crazy in the end. But I did a good thing.
Philly fans, Labatt blew the Greyhound.
Like, I'm a huge dog guy. Huge. Like, I love them. Like,
okay.
And yeah, there's a lot of.
Stink Chameleon says the dog's named Bob.
That's like one where you look at your dog, you get it like, oh my God, look at our new dog. What are you gonna call it? Bob. How about Mike? I had a friend who called his cat Mike.
Oh, yo, Mike the cat. That's a good
great.
name.
You know what would be a great name, Bundy?
Yeah.
Blue Knight.
Blue Nuit. Come here, Blue Nuit. Blue Nuit.
Alexa, play. Never mind.
Come on over here, Blue Nuit.
All right, well, this is the #1 rated pregame intermission postgame show inside Mississippi, south of the Arctic Circle. Second period's about to begin. We'll be talking about La Sicilia.
One of our best intermissions
We're going to talk about La Sicilia in the second intermission. Good. Live show, information scrolling on the bottom, and tickets at shop.snowthegoalie.com. We'll talk to you in the second intermission. God help us. into the Press Row Show, the #1 rated pregame intermission game show side of the Mississippi south of the Arctic Circle. What an end to that period. Just as you were about to say, hey, 1-1, Tarasenko levels things. We start talking about what it was that led to it. And, when you think about the first 5 minutes of the third period, Tyson Forster scores 2 goals in, what was that, a minute 35 of gameplay less?
Was it even less than that?
It was less than that,
inside
right?
the last minute, I thought, wasn't
Insane.
Yeah, it was 45 seconds apart.
So there you go. We've talked all season about some young guys needing to take a step, all that. Forster has looked more confident in recent weeks. 2 goals in the span of, let's say, less than a minute and a half. Bundy, let me go to you first. The first goal.
I say 45 seconds.
45.
Just a minute. I just thought I just said it.
A minute,
minute
45.
and a half.
It was in the last,
45.
the weaning moments of the second period.
Thanks.
I want to go to the first goal there. Off the face-off. Forster rips it on net.
Yeah, it was like it ended up being a knuckleballer.
Yeah.
A great win by the draw by Lawton. And then Ottawa with absolutely no sense of
awareness,
of
really.
awareness or the fact that it was going to be a broken play happen. They didn't even want to get anybody out at him. And so the shot goes through, the goalie never moved, and the rest is history. And then the Flyers end up punishing Ottawa again for a play that actually happened quick down around the net. Ottawa almost had a wraparound chance with about 16 seconds left, and then they were able to spring Forster loose again, and he got the step on the defenseman. And then, as Anthony said and pointed out, I told Anthony immediately, I said, watch, it's going to be a penalty shot. Now, the actual logic and what's required now for a penalty shot is significantly different than it once was.
Yes.
So
he did nothing to impede him.
Is this the flagrant foul of the NBA making its way into the NHL?
And then Forster scored on the Ottawa goalie,
Mads Sogard,
who's just, his numbers suggest.
Isn't that a name of an IKEA dresser?
His numbers suggest he's a sieve.
Yeah.
And then Forster came. I looked at Anthony, and we both looked like, he's going to score this guy.
Yeah.
So 3-1 Flyers, and you're right, Russ. We thought it would be 1-1, but the Tyson Forster show just took over the last minute of the third period.
Yeah, we were honestly going to have a whole different conversation.
Agreed.
Here at intermission if it wasn't for those last 45 seconds. So, but yeah, it turned it around. Otherwise, it was not a great period for the Flyers.
It was not a good period for the Flyers at all. Obviously, not great. It wasn't even good.
Yeah.
Again, it was similar to last night, except the Ottawa wasn't able to do what Washington did. And
that's for you, Bundy.
You gotta go there. Allison, one of our best fans who does the spreadsheet.
And you remember
her daughters, they're the ones who like the Bundy bombs when she's listening at the drop-off line.
Allison L, big fan, and I'm going to tell you right now to your daughter, Madeline, happy birthday, Madeline. I don't know if they call you Maddie, but we're going to go Madeline, and have a great 8th birthday. Thank you for being a fan, and thank you for lending Mom to us on game nights.
There you go.
That's very nice.
Good stuff.
Very nice.
Good stuff. Yeah, but it was not, as Bundy was saying, it was not a good period.
No.
And it was going to be like, how the hell did you let this team stay hanging around tied going into the third period the way the first period was? Because it was all Flyers in the first period.
Yeah.
And this guy's like Bundy called him a sieve because he came into this game with a goals against average over 5. Over 5.
Yeah, that guy is playing in an NHL game tonight.
Yeah.
So if you're wondering about goaltending in the league, that guy is dressed in a National Hockey League game. This is a best men's pro league in the world.
Yeah. So.
Well, okay. Now hold on. Ottawa might be active on the trade market. Can I interest him in Cal Peters? All right. It is the second period, which means one thing, and that one thing.
That means Superfan Eric came up for a hello.
Yeah, he was up here earlier.
Guy. What a stud. Look
He's
at
the
over
best.
there.
Come on over here, Superfan. Come on.
You know why he's got to come over here? We got to let him ask a question. I'll tell you why in a second.
We haven't talked about the fan of the year stuff.
Yeah. No, come here. Come here.
Come on.
No.
Now, Eric.
There you go. Look at this, Eric. Superfan Rosti.
Yeah, the reason we want you to come over because I understand
Watch
that.
the language, fella.
Yeah.
Watch the language.
When you go to the fan events, lately they haven't let you ask a question.
No.
Right?
Right.
So because of that, I feel like it's fair that we allow you to ask us a question here tonight on Snow the Goalie.
I got nothing.
Nothing good tonight?
No, I mean, you're.
If you drop,
make the decisions.
if you drop food off, if you drop food off on an order and it was late and you got screamed at, like Tort screamed at the kid last night, would you be upset about that?
Yes. I think there were 2 mistakes last night. I thought, Brink made
Go
a
ahead.
huge mistake.
Yeah.
But I thought Torts made a bigger mistake. Benson, Brink, and Luxell, in the third period when you're running down by 1 goal.
Yeah.
You need, Brink will give you offense.
It's a good point. It's a good point. Bundy, what's up with the fan of the year thing you want to talk about?
Hold on, come on back here. Now listen, the Flyers put a thing the other day. We're going to be awarding the fan of the year.
Yep,
right?
yep, exactly.
So I just want to say to everybody, we have our Snow the Goalie fan of the year nominees, and we want to let you know that you're one of our nominees.
Wow.
The Snow the Goalie. That's the real deal. But I will say this: anybody that's got a Flyer tattoo in their head should win that award every year.
It should be an automatic. They should name the award after you.
They should call it the Eric Rothstein Award.
I don't see any other fans greeting the team at the airport and all
No,
efforts in the
no.
night.
Eric, he does that.
I know, it's good.
Thank you for being a fan, and congratulations on your nomination as Snow the Goalie Fan of the Year.
Thank you.
we need to make graphics for it now.
Yes. Intern Andrew, get on that.
Thanks very much, Eric.
Intern Andrew's going to put together
Thanks,
the
Eric.
graphics.
Appreciate it, bud.
Part of the family.
Yes,
we go.
absolutely.
There we go.
Absolutely. All right, Intern
Andrew is on his game tonight. Ever since I made that I made that one comment pregame, and ever since then,
yelled at him
he's
like
been
10 times.
Once, he listen. It's tough love. All right, is he Bobby Brink and my Torts? I don't know.
You're just like the
I don't
coach.
know.
You're just like the coach you complain about.
Let's think about some of the similarities between myself and Torts. Okay,
You're short.
We're short. We're Italian. We have questionable facial hair. We have a bit of a temper. The last time we won anything was 2 decades ago. I would say that we're pretty much about the same. Yeah, that's similar. Similar enough. All right, Intern Andrew. It's the second intermission, which means it is time for Intern Andrew's trivia section. What the heck are you doing over there? I hear feedback. I hear a feedback loop. You're not even on. Did you mute the? Oh, Jesus.
So is he yelling at Intern Andrew right now? He's on his game tonight.
Go ahead.
Yeah.
What happened?
And you didn't have that muted, so you were causing a feedback loop. Go ahead.
Jeez, I apologize.
It is time for trivia time with Intern Andrew. Everybody at home, get yourselves ready. Get a pen and a paper ready as Intern Andrew drops some trivia on us.
So, this upcoming Tuesday, obviously, is going to be the 20-year anniversary of that infamous Flyers Senators game where basically everyone just got kicked out at the end. And
oh boy! Oh, we got a little guy.
Oh, we got a little kid crawling under the tripod.
Crawling on live television.
You know what?
That's good stuff. It's good stuff.
He turfed it. He got back up.
I wasn't ready for that.
There's a dog.
Yeah.
There's a dog up here.
Yes.
Somebody tell Torts. He'll take off the third period.
It's a service dog.
It's a service dog. You're not allowed to pet it.
All right, go ahead.
All right. So obviously that was the game where there was just fight after fight after fight after fight, and so. Before you guys got here, Anthony was chopping it up with a couple of fans pregame, and they were talking about this game, and Anthony was name-dropping everybody in this. And I'm like, Ant is like 30 seconds away from like answering my question, which eventually he did. He actually already said the answer to this. So I pivoted. Do you want me?
What was the original question?
Well, because I can recuse myself because I know the answer, and we'll see if Bundy remembers it because he played in that game, although he was injured by the time all the fighting happened.
First period, had a shoulder injury.
I will. All right, I'll ask the original question, and then Ant, I'll see if you get the pivot question.
Okay, cool.
Okay, so the original question was, do you guys remember the first 2 guys to drop the gloves in that game?
Yeah, it was Brashear and Rob Ray.
Okay,
there you go.
Good thing I pivoted.
I would have gotten Brashear.
All right. Do you guys know the individual who had the most amount of penalty minutes in that game? With 35.
It would have been one who got sent out and came back.
That was Brashear, but I don't think he got the 35 penalty minutes.
No.
Brashear had 34.
Yeah.
He missed it by 1.
Yeah.
It was a Flyer or it was a Senator?
It was a Senator.
No, it was one of the Ottawa
Who was
guys.
the one that fought Brashear?
No, it wasn't Rob. It wasn't Rob Ray. Was it Chris Neal?
No.
Oh, hold on a minute. Chris Kelly?
No.
Oh, that would have been. That's a good guess too. That's a real good guess. Oh, I think I know the answer. Who was the goalie that fought with Ash because he left the crease?
Patrick Lalime.
No.
Oh, I was going to say fight leaving the crease is a penalty.
I'll say this: Lalime had 17. Ash had 27.
Well, they both left the crease.
Ash kind of offered to fight anyone and everyone and their mother.
Yeah, Ash
that was like a WWE Royal Rumble.
My God,
Like it was at the point
I've
where
never seen men go at it on the ice like that.
I can tell you that the only guy nobody really wanted to get tied up with was Chara. And it was that Tamander that got lucky stuck with him.
Chara and Tamander, and everybody got mad because Tamander's not a fighter, right?
He's a liver.
Anthony, so go ahead. I could sit and name every player till we get it.
The answer is Jason Spezza.
Spezza had 35 minutes? He fought Sharpie.
Spezza?
Fighting misconduct, double game misconduct.
What the hell did he do? He fought Sharpie.
I have no idea, but he had 35 minutes of penalties.
Really?
Yes.
That's crazy.
I would not. Yeah.
So in researching for this question,
Congrats to Brian Kay for getting that one.
I actually found something that was pretty interesting.
Yeah.
So nobody ended up getting fined for this, and there was only one guy that got a suspension because of this, and it was Danny Markov, because this was his third game misconduct of the year, so he got a statutory one-game suspension.
Yeah, that's right.
So he was the only one that got a suspension. Earlier in the game, in the first period, he scored a goal, actually. And it was the 10,000th goal in Flyers history. And nobody knows that because obviously everyone talks about what happened at the end. But in researching this, I somehow stumbled across that information, which I found amusing.
Yeah.
Intern Andrew has found himself a new lane.
I love this. This is great.
The research expert.
The Snow the Goalie Research Department with Intern Andrew.
Oh, I love it.
Just to be safe, I counted all 10,000, so I can confirm.
I know that we obviously can't use the language, but the altercation did continue into the hallway, right, Anthony?
Oh, it did, between Bob Clark trying to get to Jacques Martin, who is the current coach of the Ottawa Senators, again, 20 years later. He tried to get him. The words I can repeat was when he was trying to get him to come out of the Ottawa dressing room, he was calling him a gutless puke. Those words I could say. The other ones cannot repeat on this show. But that was something else, man. I mean, I remember Markov was fired up, and Brashear tried to get back on the ice. My favorite regular season game to ever cover was that game.
Yeah, that would have been real bad. I remember Brash, I saw it after the next day. He was trying to go back on the ice. Yeah. That would have been a nightmare.
We talked to him about it at the alumni game.
Yeah.
If you go back, is that video back up on the YouTube feed yet or not?
No, it's going up.
Okay.
It should be going up this week.
Okay, yeah. That was something else, man. That was some good stuff. That was a fun time. That whole season was a fun season. Shane Bundy wasn't there for the playoff run.
Yeah.
But it was a
sure
fun.
Needed another shutdown defenseman. Yeah,
Sammy Kapanen.
Sammy Kapanen was the option. To get rid of me and Weinrich.
Yeah.
Felt like timeout. We'd been there too long. Okay.
Yeah.
Anyway.
I can still remember asking Hitch about the way he played in one of, I think it was game 1 or 2. It was in Tampa. I think it was game 1. And I was standing there in the press conference and I said, Hitch, what did you think of Sammy as a defenseman? And he goes, he's a heck of a rover. And that was it. That was the entire answer. And I was like, well, I guess that wasn't a good response for poor Sammy being asked to play defense.
And do you want to answer Greg's question there? What the genesis of all of this?
What, the Clark thing? Is that what he's asking about? What
started all the fighting?
Oh, yeah.
It went because it was a previous game.
So previous game, about 4 or 5 games previous, Flyers were playing in Ottawa, and Martin Havlat slashed Mark Recchi across the hand. Did he break his hand, Bundy, or something? It was. He had some kind of injury. Because the first game back was that game against Ottawa.
I don't remember.
It was something like that, right? So, but then the league suspended Havlat. I think it was 4 games or 5 games, whatever it was. And again, not really thinking about it properly, his first game back was against the Flyers. And at the end of the game, back in those days,
I do remember that a little bit now. Yeah.
Back in those days, right, Bundy, used to be if there was some kind of retribution and the game was already in hand, like those last 5 minutes, that was the time to do it, right?
Yep.
And so the Flyers wanted the Senators to put Havlat on the ice to get his comeuppance. And Jacques Martin would not put Havlat on the ice. So Brashear went after Rob Ray.
Ray was, I think, in front of the net. I think of the highlights, and Brash was like, I'm going to start something.
Yep. And Hitch just sent out one guy after another, and they kept asking for Havla. And what did Jacques Martin do that made matters worse?
He didn't put him out.
He made him go sit in the penalty box to serve the penalties.
That's right.
So he couldn't go on the ice even if they ran out of players.
That was gutless.
Thus the gutless puke line from Clarkie.
That's wonderful stuff.
That's a good point here by Eric H. too. That Sens team was loose with their sticks. They absolutely were. Yeah. Alfredson was really kind of chippy with his stick. People don't realize it. But I remember in a playoff series, we never had success against them. But I remember we were saying one playoff series, go out there and try to break your stick over any Ottawa Senator you can. Literally, I was hosting. I wanted to just crack my stick in half. We were so mad. The most frustrating series we'd ever played was probably against Ottawa.
The year that you scored 2 goals in 5 games?
No, I was in Dallas.
Oh, that was the year you were in Dallas?
Yeah. That's right. I had more goals than Madonna in a playoff series. Forget this right here, boys. Best part is we can laugh at ourselves, man. You don't know if it's real or not. But anytime I say, I outscored Mike Madonna that year.
The intern Andrew research department is going to be looking that up now. It's going to be did he really have more points than Mike Madonna in the playoffs?
More goals. Don't forget it.
I'll take your word for it. I believe you.
So the goalie research department is going to be on that during the third period. But before we get to the third period, of course, the most important question, Bundy.
Just get the red line and get the puck in deep.
How important are the first 5 minutes of the third period?
The whole 20 minutes important, and Ottawa has come back on this team in third periods before.
Yes.
So I don't like that trend, but they don't have Tkachuk. Ottawa wants to play an easy game. The Flyers should not let them after that second. They got away with one with the 2 goals at the end of the first. That was the hockey god shining down on you for a minute. Flyers need, if there's no play, red line and get the puck in deep.
And you look like you were about to say something, and then you didn't.
I was going to say something to Bundy, but he did the mic drop.
I'm just going to note, if Ottawa scores, I get 2 points. We'll talk to all of you post-game.
But that's if Ottawa scores and nothing else happens.
And we'll see if Ant goes down and asks a question.
I'm the AP guy.
So you're not asking a question?
I could.
Ooh, but will he? We'll find out. Talk to you post-game. the score is not even right on there. But hey, welcome into the Press Row Show, the #1 rated pregame, intermission, and postgame show side of the Mississippi, south of the Arctic Circle. I'm Russ. That's Bundy. I have to say, listen, they say karma's a female dog. I was just ecstatic. 2 seconds left on the clock, and I looked at Anthony as he did a couple games ago when he picked up 2 points and shoved 2 points in my face, and I looked at him, I went, 2 points, because I said 3-2 in the predictions. And I was, 0.4 seconds away from getting 2 points.
0.6. You said it. As soon as you said it, the empty netter hit.
Cam York, persona non grata. The number, he's not, you know what?
Yeah, I love
Cam
this
York,
guy. I love the guy who got Flyers Cup. This guy's the best.
What happened?
He's like one of those Monday morning quarterback guys that just, 6'4", right, Bundy?
Oh, there you go.
And you're going to tell me they're Mr. Flyer Cup guy because the Flyers have played so well against the Senators that was just a knowledgeable pick.
I will note, though, the last time, that one time I picked the Flyers to give up 6 goals to Tampa, which I was right. Anthony would not shut up for a full week. That was his thing to go after me for.
Yeah.
And you did it pregame. And maybe it's because you're a little bit bigger than me. Maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe he fears your stash. Maybe he fears the hashtag Bundy stash. I don't know. But
this was a weird game.
It was.
It wasn't like, I don't know.
It wasn't a great game.
It was not.
I wouldn't be surprised if Torts goes down there and has his presser and he's kind of like, and he's short. I wouldn't be surprised tonight. It wasn't a great game. The second period especially, Forster flips the game on its head. 2 goals in 45 seconds. Really does flip the fortune in favor of this team that probably didn't deserve to have a lead, going out of that period. And yet they did, and they managed to hold on tonight. But not a top-notch game, but you know what? You get the 2 points, and that's what it's all about.
Yeah, there's no doubt about it. And that really is, at this point of the year, is not really, it doesn't matter necessarily for style points, although it's good to see a good game, but for the Flyers right now, they'll gladly take that and just move on, because that was one of those games you can get yourself. I really did. I thought they're going to get stuck in a trap here tonight. And again, Ottawa, it's just not a good team. I mean, and without their captain, Tkachuk, who does bring physicality when he has the puck, like he really makes it hard on defensemen when he decides he wants to play. The Flyers didn't have to deal with a lot of that. Just a little bit of cleanup at the end on that 6-on-5. I like the way Ottawa had that working. But I will say this, to credit Sandstrom, he made some big stops in the third period when he had to.
He did.
Like 2 really, really good saves on low shots, and he did come up really big. So that was good, encouraging to see him play like that. Better goaltending than I thought both ways. I mean, they're both 2 backups that have not had stellar numbers. So the higher scoring game didn't happen, and when you think it's going to happen, it doesn't.
Yeah, I mean, so I see a comment here that I want to get to in a second. Sometimes for the people who listen to the podcast feed who don't catch this on YouTube or Facebook or Twitter Live, usually the podcast feed people, they get the post-game show unless we get somebody on for an interview pre-game or during one of the emissions. And right now I'm kind of bantering this back and forth in my head because pre-game we had so much good stuff. I think through the intermissions it was a good show.
Great
I put
show
the whole
tonight.
thing in tonight.
Yeah.
But we talked about Sealer and Walker during pregame especially, and about potential contracts, and that Sealer's agent might be looking for $4 million a year for Nick Sealer. Now Walker's agent wants like $5+. And, we got into a bit of a spirited debate about it, but, Ryan Ingrick here points out something, which is part of why Sealer is so endearing to that locker room, to the coaching staff, to the front office, why you might not necessarily, if you are them, scoff at the idea of giving him a nice pay increase, but certainly not $3.5 or $4 million.
We never, and I didn't say that either, Russ.
Yeah, I just want to read Sealer's shift on the double minor 6 block shots, just sick.
Yep.
Crazy.
Yeah, and they're gonna, and he knows when the shots are coming. It's not like they're gonna try to set it up. That's a desperation point where they're gonna do it. So all he's gotta do is get his body in the lane, and he did a great job. I mean, he does that, and we said that. It's nothing against that we don't like Sealer. We love Sealer.
Yeah.
But it's for whatever price. It's a commodity, and when you got something like that, your job as a manager is to find the guy to do the best job he can at each position.
Correct.
And for the best value that he can.
Yep.
While also marching forward with your team in hopes that the product you put together is the right one and can win playoff series.
Yep.
So that's what they're trying to do. I have a problem with the financial ask.
Yes.
And the age of those guys, more so than it is about the spirit of each one of those guys. If it was just that, and we were paying everybody, happy money, they would get happy money.
They would get happy money, but
we're not. They can't.
It's not all rainbows and smiles. The world is a cruel place.
It is.
Solar Warden says Tyson Forster sneaking into the Calder conversation. So it is interesting though. The 2 goals tonight, I believe he is second among all rookies with 16 goals on the season.
It's not.
Everybody knows it's going to Bedard.
It's absolute. Like I can't even remotely.
I don't think anybody's being serious.
Like
I don't think anybody's being serious.
Well, I think Solar Warden.
I don't think Solar Warden's being serious. I think Solar Warden's just kind of pointing out, like,
when I see something like that, I have to address it.
Okay.
I've never in my life, and this has come from other Flyers, man, like people and stuff, guys I play with. Most guys had never seen anybody given the opportunities that Tyson Forster was given in his career this year.
Yeah.
I mean, when he did nothing, he still play every night, regular shift, and Torts loved him. And see you guys, have fun tonight. And he's come around. He's rewarded him. But I mean, again, he's got 16 goals. I mean, he's on an
17.
awful 17,
and he missed a bunch of time.
He missed like a month, right? So
I would say though, like, remember early in the season, Forster could not hit the net.
No,
if it were like 6 times the size. He had a really rough start to the season, and we kept coming back to, man, like, he really built up a lot of equity with the coach, and you just didn't know how long the coach was going to stick with him. And look, whether he deserved to come out of the lineup at certain points is certainly up for debate. But he seems to have found confidence here, and especially at this part of the season where games really do matter more and, like, where they seem hell-bent on trying to make the playoffs, like, him having those kind of moments, those takeover sorts of moments. I mean, listen, Ottawa's not world beaters, right? But, like, it's still impressive.
Yeah, Tyson Forster's got a long way for me like where I'm evaluating him for being a takeover guy. That's
I'm just saying. No, I'm just saying that. I'm saying that 1 minute.
See ya, Mike.
Stretch
take care, buddy. Good job tonight.
Was a takeover kind of stretch. Not like he can do it all the time. I'm just saying it flipped the game on its head. He has a good goal off of a face-off.
It was just again a clean win back.
Yep.
That Lawton does it. Then you get an absolutely just a flubber goes through.
Yep.
All right, so great. It happened. It was an opportune time, and then you get Ottawa chasing the play. They almost score right after on a wraparound.
Yes.
And then they end up setting the breakout out for Tyson, and he goes back down. And then I mean, that was probably a 2-minute penalty. It shouldn't have been a penalty shot.
Yeah.
I mean, you got to really.
But you take advantage when they make that
100%.
And not everybody who gets a penalty shot makes it.
The Flyers now, by the way, folks, 5 penalty shot goals is a record, league record. It's the most penalty shot goals scored in a season is a record.
Was that the goalie research department that found that number?
You know what, Russ? If you actually knew how to do research, you would have had that
for us. So
you're actually
the intern,
taking
because
me.
The intern.
No, the intern doesn't have that. You guys sit around here all day and you do nothing during the games.
Nothing.
We're the ones actually researching stuff. So we're prepared after. Yes, 5 penalty shot goals in a year is an NHL record.
Look at that. Good on you.
I just wanted to come down on you tonight for something.
It's okay.
Don't worry, we still love you.
It's fine. You know what? And this is what's going to make it even better. Philip Albert says, instead of the Bash Brothers, y'all are the Stash Brothers.
Stash Brothers.
The Stash Brothers.
I'm gonna keep it another night till Monday.
I'm proud of you.
I shaved off the beard
because
I do it.
You pull off the mustache well, but see, now you have something that I don't have. Okay. All right, an NHL career. Now, you have the ability. You've got like the thickness coming around
kind of
here.
Pull it down a little
if you wanted to, you could Fu Man shoe it. I can't do that.
I had a Fu Man yesterday, but I can't.
Really?
Yeah, I did. I shaved right down the middle here, and I had that badass Fu Man.
Man. Never mind.
We're the Stash. We're not doing Stash Brothers.
No, but it's just the way. That's a shirt. That's totally got.
Look at this. See, Solar Warden Bundy is right. It's a record. Yes, it's a record. But you know what? The host of the show should be doing that research in the third.
Oh,
and
here it is. Fake news. That's what the intern's for. And he, listen, to his credit, in the second intermission, he had great trivia. He's learning. It's been all season, but we've started to teach him the ways
of the family.
Of the family. You want the part of the family you got. Anyway, let's see. Greg G says, "Can we get Hathaway an extension?" Hathaway's been good. He's been really good this year.
And that's a guy that, again, you can be happy having him as part of your team. He should be inexpensive. He's not going to command a lot. It's hard for an agent to negotiate numbers that are that aren't real numbers.
Yeah.
Like when you say he's a heart and soul guy, and then you got to convince the GM, and then the GM's like, "Well, I got this for numbers." When they never should use those as numbers or a gauging spot for what the kind of work that Garnet Hathaway does for this team. What am I missing? Raleigh fingers?
It was coming. All right, podcast people, after the fact, you don't see it. If Sevlin Forrest says, if Russ and Bundy did a Spider-Man kiss with their mustaches making
Anytime I think of like anyone in a costume, all I can think of like is Beverly Hills Ninja. Chris Farley. Dressed in any that's... We waiting for Ant? I mean, it's going to be... Yeah.
I don't know. I'm looking to see intern Andrew set up at the press conference. Just waiting. John Doherty checks in here, or Doherty, checks in and says, Giroux, enjoy the losing. Greg Mack says, that was a pleasant surprise, but they need to win a couple of games against playoff-bound teams. I think that's fair. Totally fair.
Is Ant down there with cupcake right now?
What, coffee cake.
Oh, coffee
cake.
I
legitimately did want that. The way that video was cut, we talked about this during one of the intermissions, but like the video of Torts finding out that the dog was adopted, and like he has this like love in his eye, this like twinkle in his eye. I just needed it to cut to Anthony holding the dog with the Curb Your Enthusiasm. Boom, boom, boom. Like that would have been great. Here you go. Now, Daddy Mufasa says management's going to have a tough time explaining why Sandstrom wasn't up here the last month. I disagree. Sandstrom was not good with the Phantoms either. And everyone that I know that checks in on the Phantoms far more than I do, including like the Bill Meltzers of the world, also noted in the past week that Sandstrom was also not very good down there either. It's not as if he had been playing out of his mind and that he deserved to be up here. They were giving Peterson the shot.
I'm going to answer this from our friend Michael Sirkin, why there's no more player interviews. There is, but the only thing that we do, and it kind of flows along with the history of the game, when the team wins at home, we get an interview. Mm-hmm. We obviously don't when the team's on the road because we're not covering it live.
Yeah.
At home, when the team wins, we try to get a player.
Tonight's a little bit different, too, because Anthony's doing double duty as the Associated Press person tonight. And when he does that, he has to do the home team and the away team quotes and all that stuff. So he's kind of like double booked. Meanwhile, intern Andrew, though, he's down there in the room waiting for Torts. He's got the camera on the podium.
He's got cupcake with him.
Hey,
I actually ate some cupcakes on the way down.
Imagine if like Ant was just like this, like he had like cupcake with him. He's like, Torts, what did you think of the game tonight?
And then like
and then Torts gives him like a great answer.
Dude, you know what though? There would be such an internal strife that Torts would go through in that moment, because like you know that he'd want to like say something kind of snippy, like
not answering your questions.
But then like Ant would be holding this dog that he's been waiting to see get adopted. So it really, I mean that really is like a man versus himself.
Yes.
The inner conflict. Do I answer the question? Do I not? I think he'd give him kind of like the Bill Meltzer thing from a couple games ago, where he said like, "That's not. I only answer questions," because he said that Bill's thing was a statement.
It's a statement. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. I guess we'll find out. Let's see. There's a lot of other stuff on here. CMZ says, "Can we put Atkinson on LTIR or something? The guy has fallen off bad. He really has. Listen, at the beginning of the season, he looked fantastic. Atkinson did, and I remember even saying to you at one point, like, man, teams are going to want to see that he can stay healthy, but like maybe he's a potential trade asset closer to the deadline, right? Because every team looks for scores.
He's a trade asset for the Flyers.
He's falling.
He may not be for the other 31 teams that are out there.
He sounds like he's like a very well liked guy, like a positive guy.
Again,
but his play on the ice has just been dreadful.
It happens when you get older. It does. I mean, I've been there. A lot of guys that play a long time. You get there's like that middle, and then you get to a point where you played a lot of hockey, and you get burned out. Yeah. And he is, and then younger bodies come in and they're just fresher and they have that same attitude, and it becomes harder to keep up.
Yeah.
Especially when you're older. You know, you can always have that one blaze of glory game where you're just everything's firing, but to do it consistently is not always easy. We almost have that guy with the blower just pull the blower out right now. Like, does he not?
What's the blower?
The guy's got like one of those hand blowers there. You clean out the aisles.
Oh yeah, he's on the phone too.
Yeah,
this man.
He's double dipping. That's how they get rid of. They clean the aisles. You know, ever wonder that, folks? It's a blower. It's all blowers.
It's like a little leaf blower.
It's a leaf blower.
It's like a mini leaf blower, but there are no leaves in here. It's just people with their popcorn. Oh, he's at it. He is not broken stride. He's still on that phone call.
Yes, the Bundy Ovechkin clip last night.
Maybe he's listening.
Ovechkin. So what happened was, I'm going to tell you that I got danced last. That was the last year of my career, and anyone that knows what I went through that year was not the me of before. But I think I changed on that shift, and he danced, put it through my feet. But what happened was when I went over to get him, I'm thinking, you know what? If I hit this guy the wrong way, I'm going to end up kneeing him.
There's somebody at the podium. It's not towards.
I was afraid I was going to knee Ovechkin, and then I thought somebody would come across. But awful play. I got burned, as many others did in his 825 goal career to this point, or whatever it is. I salute you, Alex Ovechkin. You made a good move on me. I was probably half in the bag anyway, but whatever.
He's a pretty good player.
He is. And you know what? That's not the only guy that I've been danced by in my career either. It's happened. And you know what's funny? Anybody that's played defense, like as a one-on-one, I don't care if you're the greatest D ever. You have been burned and you have been humbled in anyone's building, and it happens. And so that's it. I was wondering, going to ask you guys, the guy that asked that, do you have any clips of yourself getting burned by Alex Ovechkin? If you do, send it over to us.
You know what it was? I know that like people really hate a lot of people, right? And like you hate rival teams and all that.
Yeah.
You know what did it though for Ovechkin?
What?
That like made me not hate him.
What's that?
There was the clip of him with the special needs woman.
Mm-hmm.
He was like a few years into. I want to say it was like 8 or 9 years ago. I don't remember if he took her to prom or he took her like to a formal event or something. It was just like a really nice thing. Like they did the whole day, and like the Capitals did a really good job of like building this whole video thing. And I'm like, you know what? Maybe the guy's not so bad. And actually, Anthony, I think, is the one who told the story about they were doing a game down in D.C. and Ovechkin overheard Ant and a couple of the other writers of the other like Flyers writers at the time, and they were like sitting at back-to-back tables at this restaurant. And Ovechkin ended up like turning around to talk to the writers and like paid for their meal or whatever. But he spent like the whole night talking to them about hockey.
Yeah. I mean,
he seems like
he does. Sounds like a pretty good dude. Like, you know, I mean, I've never heard anyone really say anything bad about him. You know, guys that play with him, like Justin Williams is a longtime teammate of mine. He loved him, and yeah, I mean, listen, he's a hockey player. I mean, I like the way he partied when he won the cup. I think that was just great. I know some people are like, oh wow, I don't care at all. Yeah, you rock it, man.
He certainly made the most of every moment that he had the cup.
Oh, it was great.
Yeah.
It was great.
Yeah,
it really was. And you know, I mean, again, listen, he's been a hell of a commodity for the NHL. He's brought greatness for many years to this league, and I played against him for 1 year, and that was pretty cool that I can say that. So
here's a good hockey question from Philly Phantom, asking us. Do you envision Forster being a potential we went even higher than this. Potential perennial 30-goal scorer, not just once, but perennial 30-goal scorer. Seems like his ceiling may be something close to that.
I don't know. I to me, it looks like it seems hard for him to score goals, and he's been given every chance. I mean, I'm telling you, if like I joked with John LeClaire earlier in the year, I said, I wish I had a coach love me the way that this guy loves Tyson Forster. And Johnny looks at me and goes, we all do, Bundy. That's a true story. And you know, again, like, I mean, he couldn't score, and they just kept forcing him to try to score. It's what it felt like. I always got a groove going right now, but I don't know, man. I think when I watch a guy for a little bit, I usually get a pretty good idea that guy's either going to turn the corner or what he's going to be. I don't want to profess and say that he's got a 30-goal mark around his neck for his career. I don't believe that. 20? Maybe. But I don't know. I don't know.
I think that the thing that makes it tricky is, if you remember, like, coming into the league, what was the thing that was his biggest knock? His skating, right? Like, they said that was going to be the biggest work in progress for him. But they said he had a heck of a shot. And he does in, like, certain situations. But, like, to me, he doesn't. I don't get, like, sniper vibes.
No, I don't.
And I don't necessarily get, like, crafty.
Yeah.
But
Flyers Cup, again, is kind of saying, like, you know, he's a rookie, and TK had 11 goals as a rookie. How old is Forster?
Yes.
Okay.
Flyers research department says he's 22.
All right. So, I mean, it's not like he's a 19-year-old. Like, can
22 still.
It's young.
He's still young.
It is, but what I am telling you, he's been given opportunities to score goals.
Yeah.
All right, and he's turned a corner. I like the way he plays. He plays good defensively. You asked me if I thought he was going to be a 30-goal scorer. I do not think repeatedly he's going to be a 30-goal scorer. I don't know.
Yeah.
But I don't think he is. I usually spot those guys, and they seem to make sense. I think he can get goals, but I think he's going to have to do it real hard.
I'm just looking for his month-over-month. All right, I don't think this doesn't take into account his goals tonight. But up until tonight.
He had just turned 20. So he is. Yeah, he's still a kid. He's young.
He had 3 goals in November in 14 games, 2 goals in 13 games in December, 4 goals in 14 games in January. February, he had 5 goals in 6 games. And then obviously tonight, 2 goals. So that's 2 goals across 2 games in February. So if you're looking for a positive to take away from it, it's that he's now up to double-digit goals since the calendar flipped to the new year, which is the majority of his goals. So again, if you're looking for positives to take away from it, it looks like he may have turned a corner right now.
Well, we'll see. He's scoring goals at an important time of year. That's another thing, too.
That's a big thing. So. Remember, like last year, the knock on Morgan Frost was that so many of his points were scored in the second half, but it was against teams that didn't really matter all that much. In this case, you need goal scorers, especially with Konechny out.
I don't know who's on potato. We don't have anybody, and we've been here for 25 minutes.
Yeah, I mean, here's what we have right now from down in the press conference room.
Here's what you got.
Potato Cam is focused in on, you know what, maybe, you know what this could be. Oh, look at that, right on cue. There he is.
We're going to sign right off after.
All right, here we go.
Some Tyson Forrester's praises here over the last little while, but what does it mean to you when the team desperately needs someone to step up and make a play there? He basically makes 2 of them at the end of the second.
He makes on the penalty shot, he makes a great defensive play. At their blue lines. So yeah, he's done it all year long. Puck's beginning going for him.
You mentioned after last night's game, basically, needing more from the offensive guys. I took that to mean, kind of more the established guys. But is Tyson turning himself into one of the guys you look to now?
He has had a good run here. I've been looking to him the whole time because he was getting chances. They just weren't going in for him. It's easy for a coach to look at a guy for scoring, but also know he's probably one of your best defensive players too. So I've been looking his way pretty much all year long.
You've been very honest about Felix's play in the past. With how his season went, with being up here for so long and then going finally down, how do you think he responded, especially coming in at a big moment where you guys really needed him?
Well, the thing I liked about it, he closed the game out. I think that was his next step. I thought that was his struggles when we had him here last year, was closing a game out. He made some key saves at key times. I'm happy for him. He looked confident.
With Tyson for a second, you mentioned how good he's been defensively. Is that a surprise for you that he's been that reliable at this young an age, at this early in his career?
Well, I've said it all year long that he's well beyond what we thought. People talked about his skating, very deceptive skater. He gets where he wants to go, and it's a big part of, as I've said a number of times, it's a big part of our job in coaching is to teach players away from the puck. He's well beyond it right now. We have a number of other guys to worry about other than him, teaching that part of it.
The Sealer, he just seems like a guy that when the games intensify, his game is pretty reliable. I know the trade deadline's coming up, but how much would you like to see him stay here for the throne?
Yeah, we have said that from the get-go. We're not looking to trade Seals. He's a huge part of the competitiveness of the room that brings that room together. He's one of the true competitors that I've ever coached as far as how he handles himself.
Just big picture, do you have the confidence going into this game after what happened last night that this team's going to respond, because they really have been doing it all year?
They have, and that's why I think we developed after the first period 3 5-on-5 scoring chances last night. Certainly not good enough. I don't think it's a 5-2 game. I don't think they rolled over us, but we didn't have much going. For a couple of periods. I thought we lost ourselves when they regained some momentum. We didn't have any patience. We turned a lot of pucks over. You don't have to direct a group too much. They know, they've assessed themselves pretty well this year. And I had full confidence coming into tonight's game that they were going to answer the proper way. Doesn't mean you win the games, but I know they're going to answer the proper way.
Joe Farabee had obviously not scored for 14 games, but he was doing everything else right. He was making the big plays.
Yeah.
Good to see him go finally get
Yes.
tonight.
I hope that helps him score. I hope that helps with the rest of the game too.
You don't talk much
One or
about
two more.
positioning, where you guys are at, where you guys are going, but
Not.
to play meaningful games, how much important is that for not just like you guys are rebuilding, but also these younger guys getting those meaningful games in
I
these
say it every
situations?
day. That's the most important part of this, is we're playing games in March that means something. That's huge for the kids.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
That was Coach Tortorella. I didn't hear a lot of it. I've been barking at Russ for getting better audio, and we're going to do that. I promise you I will make sure it happens. I didn't hear anything, Russ. Was there anything pertinent?
I can't figure out if he just kind of like barked at Jackie Spiegel from over at the Inquirer. She asked I think it was her that asked a question about Farabee.
Okay.
And he like kind of gave her a short answer and said, I think he said, "I hope that helps with your story," which is weird. A lot of questions about Forster there. Questions about if the team could bounce back, because they've done a pretty good job this year bouncing back. And he said that, yeah, like that's one thing they've been able to kind of rely on. We need to talk about the competitiveness and why that's kind of helped to keep the room together this year. And to their credit, they really, they have had games where you go, "Eesh." And then they follow it up with a good performance. Last night was and then today was a.
They handled their business today, and that's kind of a summation of what the night is. Monday night, we're back here at 7 o'clock. The Blues come to town. Another mixed bag. You don't know what you're going to get, but we will see you. We'll be here at 6:30. Russ and Anthony will all be right around that pillar doing Flyers pregame on the radio. Monday night.
Monday night.
Saturday night.
We're just down here.
You like how I close the show because Russ is going to.
No, it's just like we're down here a lot. We're down here a lot, but you know what?
We got a busy month. This is a busy month
It
of
is.
March. There's 8 home games.
8 home games.
Yeah.
This was what, number 2?
Yes, it's a very.
No, this was number 1 of the month. Home game.
This is number 1. Yeah, this is one done.
1 down, 7 to go. Hey,
It
but
is.
you know what though, Bundy? You look at April and you say, "Hey, April's going to be a light month," except they got the playoffs.
We do.
coming
We
up.
have playoffs, and which we're going to look forward to.
Playoffs. All right. It's time for us to go. Everybody have a great rest of your night. If you're listening after the fact in the podcast feed, I hope you had a great night, a great morning, great whenever you hear us. And then Monday we're back. Press Row Show. Number 1 rated pregame, intermission, and postgame show side in the Mississippi and south of the Arctic Circle. So subscribe to the channel. Subscribe on YouTube. Ring the bell. Like the video. Share the video. Subscribe. Subscribe on the podcast feed. We'll talk to you on Monday night here on Snow the Goalie, the Press Row Show.